Yeah. All right. So guys, we got to talk about Captain Carter, but I think Captain Carter gave us an angle to explore, right? Is accuracy the most important factor? And the reason I asked this question is because to me, as someone who's not a huge fan of What If, but I did watch some of it. I did watch the Captain Carter episode. This to me looks very accurate. It looks very accurate to the show. I feel like it's a pretty faithful, accurate representation of what the character looked like in the animated show. But maybe they didn't do it because they're going to do it later, but could they have possibly, maybe more productively gone for something like kind of like what the Clone Wars line has done, giving you something that's sort of like half realistic, half animated, right? Or maybe even more towards the side of realism. Because in this case, they clearly went for this whole What If line is more accurate. They went sort of like a Spider-Verse approach, looks animated, right? Which is accurate to the show. But is accuracy the most important factor? And the reason I asked that is because I don't see a lot of excitement for this figure. There is some, because there are What If fans out there. There are people who like the show, like this character. But had this had a Haley Atwell head sculpt that could have maybe been swapped with Multiverse of Madness or something, right? And the same outfit, I think you'd see a lot more excitement for this. So I'm wondering, is accuracy the most important thing? Because I would say in most cases it probably is. But with a figure like this, I'm starting to wonder whether it actually is. So Shane, I'll start with you. Is accuracy like the number one thing that you look at when you buy a collectible?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Like a lot of 1/6 scale collectors and content creators, I watch a lot of 1/6 scale YouTuber content creators. So like I have kind of an idea of where people are in terms of who the diehard posers are, who the fans of in-art are, or who, like myself and you, you tend to go for realism over posing. Like I think we're in a kind of a similar mind frame with that. Like I prefer the realism, but I won't personally go statues because I still like the option to repose every few often. Whereas I'm not going to be like a diehard poser like like Loco Lou or something like that. You know what I mean? So for this, I think they're doing it right. I think like I watched What If, I really liked What If, and I will go back and rewatch What If. I thought it was a unique take of just showing the different ways things could have worked out in other universes or whatever. But me rewatching it would be the first ever Marvel Disney Plus show from Marvel that I'll actually go back and rewatch, because I don't think they have that much rewatchability. Now my point on this is, even though I'm going to go rewatch it, I'm not going to pick any of these up. But if I was to, I would want it looking as close as it could to what we saw on the screen, the animated version. Clone Wars, I don't collect Clone Wars. But if I did, I know I'd want the versions that actually are closer to the animated. Basically what Sideshow was trying to do but failed miserably. I don't want the hybrid. Like if screen accurate, if I want to watch The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, I'm going to pick that up. I want that to look like Rosario Dawson. I want it to look like what it looks like on screen. So if I was collecting an Ahsoka from the Clone Wars, if I collect the Clone Wars, I want it looking more anime. I don't want to see any Rosario Dawson. I don't want to see any Tamora Morrison in the Troopers personally. So for this, yeah, I think it's actually the way to go. They didn't do a Haley Atwell on it because it wasn't Haley Atwell. I thought they did a good job, and I think that's the way they should go. So I'd be more into, accuracy be more important for me personally.
Gotcha. Yeah, totally makes sense. I think, Shane, like one of the hesitations some people might be having with like a figure like this is like, how does it fit into the rest of your collection? Because it's animated. And then when you have that with the more realistic figures, unless you have an animated line, which you could go down the What If line and put them all sort of in their own little area, that would work. But it starts to become difficult, I guess. So, but I'm with you. Like, I do think being faithful and accurate is
what you
extremely
could
important.
do is you could take the head sculpt off and then just pose it with the rest of the Multiverse of Madness figures when they come out.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Or just cut this one in half, and then you would have a great figure. So, you have a 1/12 scale at that point. So,
exactly.
But Marco, what do you think, man? Like, is accuracy the most important factor that you're looking at? Because when I see these animated figures, I start to wonder if that's the case. But I think it still is, probably. What do you think?
Yeah, for me, like Shane was saying earlier, realism, that's my most important factor. And really the reason why I collect Hot Toys. I've dabbled with other scales, like 1/12 scale, and to me they were fine, but it's like, okay, it doesn't give me the same satisfaction as the detail and the realism of a Hot Toy. To me, that's the big wow factor and kind of what elevates these figures. And so really that's why I'm in the game. So like, I think this is a beautifully done piece for an episode of What If that I didn't particularly care about. I didn't really love the series overall, but I can appreciate this being made, and a lot of the other figures from the line, such as the Hydra Stomper. It's another beautiful piece, but for me, it doesn't really fit in with the collection. Will, to your point, if I were to have her pose up next to a realistic looking Captain America, it just wouldn't look correct. And so I really would have preferred them to at least give us the option to have, the real head sculpt of the actress instead of this animated version. A good example is I've got the Captain Rex and the Commander Cody side by side now. Cody is from Clone Wars and Rex is from the Clone Wars TV show. But I have them side by side because they've made a creative decision to make the Clone Wars figures all kind of realistic. And to me, that was the better choice, honestly, because you can mix and match a lot easier. And for these figures, just for me personally, I kind of view them lesser. And I know Shane, when we were chatting about this one earlier, he brought up the Buzz Lightyear figure as well, where it looks a lot more like a toy. And so to me, I think that these should be priced a little bit cheaper, honestly. Like again, it's a really nice piece of artwork, and Hot Toys really has no reason to price them cheaper. But I think, to incentivize someone who may not regularly collect these more toy-like figures, to have them take the plunge, it should be priced a bit more competitively, somewhere between like $150 and $200. That's just my take, but yeah, I would say realism ultimately is the most important factor for me personally.
Yeah, and it's funny because I do think there's like you've really hit up the nail on the head there, Marcos, in terms of like there is a differentiation to be made between accuracy and realism, because this doesn't look real, but it looks accurate, right? So, and I think that's something that we sometimes maybe we mix the two terms, but I do think that overall this is a cool looking piece. I'm with you though overall, Marco, in that I just don't feel like I didn't love What If, right? So I was starting to think like if I was getting if Hot Toys made Attack on Titan characters, right? Would I want them sort of with a more realistic look or want them more animated? And that's really difficult to think about. I'd kind of maybe want to see something a little more realistic, and just so I could match it with my other Hot Toys, because I'm with you guys. I do think realism is like one of the main reasons we pay the prices we do for these figures. So when you see something like this, it's a little, I mean, maybe if I loved What If, I might be more prone to do it, but maybe that's one of the reasons I haven't gotten Miles and Gwen, even though with those, you can just put the masks on them. You can put the masks on them and like, okay, cool, we're good. Everything looks great, really normal and consistent. But yeah, I think this figure is an interesting, this whole line really is an interesting exploration for Hot Toys, because it's going to show whether people really want to support animated properties. So
absolutely,
I don't know, because we saw Gwen drop. I mean, everything's hitting rock bottom right now, but Gwen dropped super low. Miles has been sitting for a while. We'll see how low he gets, and those are great characters from a great film. So What If, still great to some people, but not quite as beloved as Spider-Verse. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with this. But yeah, it looks kind of cool, but I think I just have a feeling. I feel like for most people with this type of figure, they're just going to be like, it doesn't fit with my collection, pass. Until it gets discounted like 50% off or something.
There you go. Then you consider it.
Then everyone's like, okay, now I'll get it and get a custom head sculpt or just deal with this, right? But
exactly,
Captain Carter doesn't quite have the luxury. Right.
Exactly. And you'd be tempted by the Multiverse of Madness version of this character?
Right.
Or
exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's
I wouldn't personally, but I think a lot of people would. So yeah, but even though, like Shane said, she'd be cut in half. But but other than that, hey. But I'm interested to see, like I said, how this ended up going. So